Hello everyone, Fantastic Gary here, and welcome to another video. In this week's video, I'm going to be sharing with you my process in some plein air painting. Still a little chilly where I am, but warm enough to paint outside. I thought I'd paint this mountainscape overlooking the swamp. I really enjoyed how the colors looked, so I wanted to try to recreate this in a conceptual, stylized way with watercolor. I start off using my 1/4-inch shader brush, kind of just blocking in the shape of the composition. I'm working really tiny as I usually do, and this current sketchbook I'm working in is a different sketchbook than the one I'm usually working in for this video, which if you stick around to the end, I share with you some of the things I've been painting inside of this sketchbook and what kind of sketchbook it is. Using the wet on wet technique, I'm blocking in the lighter value colors and using the layering technique while the paper's still wet to blend in some interesting browns, some burgundies, and later on some greens. It was a little bit cold outside, so the paint drying times were a little bit slow, and I was running out of daylight fast. I'm working with my easel, so vertically, so the paint is kind of washing down, creating this kind of unique look, which I really enjoyed. After it dries a little bit more, I'm going to take the little tip of my 1/4-inch shader brush and I'm going to start painting in some more saturated values, so darker values. I find this brush can create really cool, defined details, depending on how you have it angled. Here I am brushing in some pine trees on the very tops of these little mountains. Kind of just going with the flow, and I'm not pressuring myself too much into making this look perfect. Adding in some more saturated browns and burgundies. The colors ended up looking pretty fall colory, but during the springtime, a lot of the trees actually have a burgundy look to them before they start budding green. Taking my time with drying times and layering, I'm going to focus more on the foreground, and I decided in the end to leave the far mountain just blurry. And now I can go in with even more saturated darker colors, like this beautiful green. The paper isn't completely dry, it's still a little bit wet enough to blend this in, giving it a soft look. And I'm continuing this technique with even some more interesting colors. I thought this red burgundy color would be interesting after it dries. And then towards the end, as I'm losing daylight, I take my round 0.5 brush, my smallest brush, and I start detailing in some more defined tree shapes, giving the illusion that these are foresty hills. The colors help, but it's also good to define some shapes when you are plein air painting. It was really cold out, so my hands were starting to get a little cold, and like I said before, the sun started to set. I wasn't necessarily rushing, but that little bit of time restraint helped bring this composition out, which I will share with you at the end. So here's this new sketchbook I've been working in. I've had one of these before. It's not as heavy as the sketchbook I'm usually working in for my watercolor art, if you've watched my previous videos. But this particular sketchbook is the Strathmore 500 series. It's a mixed media paper, 100% cotton, and it's about a 90-pound weight. It has a smooth texture to it, 64 pages, and I just love it for experimenting in. So that's what I've been up to lately. This one's a good one to practice in if I want to experiment with different mediums, which I'd love to bring to the channel. Here was painting some jellyfish, as I want to work on a larger illustration inspired by jellyfish. And I've also been practicing with gouache. I give credit to Yumi One Art and her easily paint Studio Ghibli styled grass and flower bushes. Definitely check her out on YouTube. This tutorial has helped me a lot. My little paintings definitely do not do her tutorial justice, but it was very helpful. I love the opaqueness of gouache, so I'd love to study it more and bring it to the channel. I've been plein air painting and practicing with colors. This particular painting was down by the river one day as I was getting eaten alive by mosquitoes. And then my current plein air painting, just above the swamp. I really love how the colors turned out for this particular painting. They're very satisfying. And then the subtle shapes of the trees. I decided not to add any foreground elements, which probably would have defined it a little bit more, but I liked how this turned out as it was. And I left the background blurred out. I feel like that adds a little bit of an effect. I had a lot of fun painting this, and definitely stay tuned for more plein air painting, where I'll take you along to wherever I am. For now, I've just been painting around where I live, but I'd like to go on hikes and whatnot. As I've said, I want to bring more mixed mediums to this art channel. I've purchased some more art supplies, as you can see here. I've been practicing with gouache, which I want to bring to the channel, pencil crayons as well. I also got these metallic watercolor paints, so I'll be excited to use those. And more importantly, I'm going to be sharing with you this tiny little sketchbook. For the last week, I've been creating an illustration every day. So I'm going to be excited to share with you guys this little mini sketchbook. I'm going to keep you updated every other week on what I've been illustrating, so stay tuned for that. It's going to be a little bit different from my usual paintings, which I will still do, but I thought this would bring more variety, and I've been having a lot of fun, as I do come from an illustrative and drawing background, and I'll be excited to mix a lot of mediums together. So again, stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I appreciate all the comments and the support. I have plans for this channel, so thank you for your patience. I'm excited for the future. Videos are uploaded Friday, usually bi-weekly, but I am going to be having weekly updates of this little mini sketchbook. Thank you again, guys. Please consider subscribing or liking. It does really help me out. And I will see you next week with an interesting video of a mini sketchbook with my daily illustrations. And then, of course, more watercolor art. Okay, guys. Bye-bye!